Ever since it was first announced, fans have looked forward to The Acolyte as a series that will tell a unique story away from the Skywalker Saga and known characters. It'll take place near the end of the High Republic, still hundreds of years before The Phantom Menace. So other than a few characters like Yoda who would have been alive during this time, the galaxy is going to look drastically different compared to when we see it on screen during the prequels. Although we haven't gotten any official trailer or release date yet, attendants at Star Wars Celebration were given an exclusive look at the series. And with the series set to release sometime next year, we have been gradually learning more and more about it. While speaking on the Dagobah Dispatch podcast, the Acolyte showrunner Leslye Headland talked about the upcoming series. She first teased that the project will be the earliest live-action story in the Star Wars timeline, talking about how the Jedi are at the height of their power and we're looking at a time period where there is peace throughout the galaxy. She also mentioned how it was interesting and challenging to make a Star Wars with no war in it, because of when the story is set. And because of this, the story will be told from the perspective of the bad guys, or the villains of Star Wars. It can't be about any galactic conflict like we get throughout the Skywalker Saga. Rather, this will be about the people who are using the Force in their own way, dipping into the darker side of the Force, and doing it without being sanctioned by a larger institution. While we've assumed that the series would focus on the two Sith, Master and Apprentice, that are in the shadows during this time period, this makes me think that maybe it'll be a larger story than that. Maybe there are just some Force users out there, not a part of the Jedi or the Sith, just using it for their own means in whatever way necessary. Something I've always been interested to see is someone like a Force-sensitive bounty hunter, who grew up with the power but was never found by the Jedi, so they go on to use it for some morally gray lifestyle choices because that's what they do. In the same interview, Headland went on to confirm that the Acolyte will have more Jedi than we've ever seen in any of the other Star Wars content before. It'll be very different to something like the originals or sequels, where it's the Jedi that are always outnumbered. Because we're set at the height of their power, there are going to be Jedi everywhere. However, because it's set from the villain's perspective, I'm curious as to how so many of these characters are included, and if it'll ever get confusing who's who, or if some will just be background characters and never really focused on at all, like Attack of the Clones. And going back to what I mentioned earlier about some other Force users, Headland briefly talked about how this series will focus on more morally ambiguous characters, compared to what we've seen before. So not every person we see in this series is going to be full Jedi or Sith. There are going to be some people in between, although whether they're Force sensitive or not remains to be seen. How excited are you for the Acolyte? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like the video, and subscribe for more coverage as the premiere gets closer. And remember to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Thank you all for watching, and remember, the Force will be with you. Always.